Hello everyone, welcome to the Watchtower, and today we are going to be going over a brand new graphic novel. This is Rorschach, coming up right after this. Alright everyone, like I was saying, today I'm going to be doing a graphic novel review of Rorschach by Tom King with art by George Fornes, and I hope I said his name right. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be going over today. And this is a story that came out in trade beginning of December, mid-December-ish, and I recently got it in and read it and went it over. It is, it's a pretty good sized book. It was a 12-issue miniseries. So it's collected now in hardcover, so it's a pretty good sized book. And it is Black Label, so it is for mature readers only, 17 and up. It is, obviously, it is a successor to the Watchmen show. Well, the Watchmen show, but also the Watchmen graphic novel from the 80s. So obviously, of course, that was adult-oriented. This is adult-oriented as well. And this is pretty much focusing mainly on the character of Rorschach, more so his legacy, because this story takes place 35 years after the events of the original Watchmen, after an interdimensional squid was dropped on the city of New York and killed a bunch of people and everything. So this takes place after that, and the basic premise of this is that two people are killed at a rally, a presidential rally of President Robert Redford's political opponent. One of the people there is dressed as Rorschach, the other one is dressed as a cowgirl, and they are two attempted assassins who are shot at this thing. And the whole thing follows this investigation, looking into these two individuals and trying to figure out what their motive was and everything, and all that kind of stuff. So basically, overall, I really, really liked this story. I thought it was really, really good. Really, really compelling, really, really interesting story. I did have a few issues with it that I'm going to go over, but for the most part, I really, really liked it. Tom King has been really hit or miss for me. Some of his Batman stuff I liked, some of them I didn't. Some of his other standalone stuff, I really like Mr. Miracle. I'm, reading some other stuff of his right now as well. This was by him, and I really, really like this. I did not like Heroes in Crisis, and he did that. I really, really just thought he dropped the ball on that. So he's very hit or miss for me, so I was a little apprehensive about going to this. But overall, I really, really liked it. Like I said, I do have some nitpicks. We're going to go over those in a few minutes. First, I want to talk about the art for a second, because I really, really liked the art for this book. It really fit the world. It really felt like a noir detective story, and the art was perfect for it. George Fornes, again, I hope I'm saying that right, was perfect for this book. It felt like the art felt like a spiritual successor to Watchmen, a little updated and everything, but felt like it lived in that same world and everything, and was just continued on, and just really, really liked the art direction and everything for this. So I thought the art was really, really well done. I also really liked the characters. I thought the characters were really, really compelling and interesting, and their struggle, and you weren't really sure, the bad guys, the assassins, you really felt for them and you understood their motivations and, really fleshed them out and really got their backstory and why they behaved the way they did. So I really, really liked all the characters. So yeah, I thought that was really well done. But there were a couple things that I had an issue with. And we are going to be getting into some light spoilers here, guys. So if you don't want to know, anything about the book, turn away now, read the book or whatever, and then come back, because we are going to get into some spoilers here. So an issue I had with the book is I felt like it had kind of some identity disorder to it, like a case of identity disorder, because this story is supposed to take place in present day. Close to present day. It's supposed to take place in the 2020 presidential elections, and where this takes place. But it doesn't feel like a modern day book. The cars all look dated. It feels like something out of the 70s or something, or 80s. It feels everybody uses landlines and payphones and that kind of stuff to talk to each other. There's no cell phones or anything like that, which I thought was super odd. I wish they, they would explain that a little bit more. Like maybe like with the squid dropping on New York, it set technology back a long ways or something. That could be something that could have been explained, but it felt like storytelling techniques to do this to make information harder to come by for characters, because they had to be like, they couldn't just like, hey, let me just pull up my phone and look this up. No, I have to go to a landline or a payphone. I have to call somebody with information, and they have to go and then, find it for them or whatever. I can't just be like, oh, internet's a thing, I'm going to do that. So it just felt very odd to me that for supposed to be 2020, it didn't feel modern at all. Not the vehicles, not the technology. It was just very, very, it was a little just like, I kept like going back, like, why is he not, why is this investigation? Why are they not using computers or, other stuff to try to speed up this investigation, make it easier on them? So it was just, that was something that I felt was just like kind of weird and just like a little, just a little odd. And then also the one thing that really just like was interesting but also just like baffled me is that Frank Miller, the comic book writer Frank Miller, is an actual character in this book. Like an actual character. And that just really, really took me out of the story. That he was in this. It was just very, very odd. And like he hadn't like done any of like his major work for like Batman and everything. He had like done other stuff. There was like Batman, like that was like supposed to be like similar to Batman, but like he did that and it was so successful that he never did anything again because he was trying to make something that wasn't successful and was like indie and like had a thing, but people just like flocked to it. So it was very weird to me and kind of took me out of it. Like every time Frank Miller was in it, like he wasn't a huge part of the story, but it was just very, very weird to me having Frank Miller in the story. And then the other little kind of issue I had with this story is that I don't feel it does a good enough job connecting to the world of Watchmen. It doesn't feel like, besides some passing remarks, obviously the people dressing up as Rorschach, it doesn't really feel like it's connected to the world of the Watchmen. First off, there's no characters from Watchmen in the story. I mean, Rorschach's not even a character in the story. He's just, it's just like his identity. Like the whole thing of it is that they've gone to this thing where they feel like Rorschach has become kind of this like cult symbol, and people don the Rorschach outfit to take a stand against what they feel is like social injustice or whatever, or they feel like Rorschach has come back, the spirit of Rorschach has come back and inhabits other people to continue his cause. So he's not really even a character in the story. It would have been more interesting, I feel like, if these people like had his journal or something and were like using it and it was like kind of like their Bible, and maybe there was like a cult of Rorschach or something. I felt like that would have been kind of more interesting, maybe tied into the world a little more if you had that actual book or had some sort of character from the actual original series in this. But there weren't any characters from the original series. I guess I understand that most of them are dead at this point. But still, you could have had somebody in there to kind of that connective tissue to the original book. Because really, I think this will work better as just a standalone detective story. Just a whodunit. You didn't even have to have it be attached to Watchmen or Rorschach. I think you could have just swapped it out as two mass killers with this whole like conspiracy thing they had and this whole thing, and it would have been just as a compelling story as with the Rorschach elements, because I felt the Rorschach elements to it, the connection to Watchmen were the weakest part of it, and I kept reading it being like, okay, you don't, like, besides, throwaway references to referencing the interdimensional squid or whatever, I feel like you could have tweaked a few things and removed that, and you would have had just as compelling story, without the Rorschach elements. Like, for example, the one big thing that the girl in this, the one assassin, she was trained since she was a little girl with firearms and everything because her dad was a member of a militia group who thought that the squids were going to come back and take over. And that there are already squids hidden in United States and stuff that were controlling people, and that certain people need to be killed because they were being controlled by the squids already to make their invasion easier. I mean, really, you could have just tweaked that story a little bit, massaged it, and have her dad just be a guy who was, afraid that the government was, like, controlling them or, listening to everything they were doing, and you still would have got this same result, I feel, in my book. I felt like these connections weren't strong enough with the squid stuff to justify this being connected to Rorschach. There was just, the connective tissue was very, very flimsy, and I think that's what really hurts the story. It's supposed to be about Rorschach, is that it's not really connected to the Watchmen or really Rorschach. I would have liked to see more of this world and everything, and like what does a world look like who has an alien invasion? What does that do to a place? There's some throwaway references and some lines about New York and stuff and how it like never really recovered, but you don't really get to see. But everything else seems like it's like business as usual because of the technology. So I really would have liked to see more of like this world and everything, and like why things operate the way they do. But yeah, those were a few of my issues I had with the story. Overall, though, like I said, I really, really like this. And if you can get past the part that you're kind of getting misled because it's not really about Rorschach, and it's not really about it's kind of about the legacy of Rorschach, but it's not really about the legacy of Rorschach. It's better as a standalone detective story than it is really about exploring the character of Rorschach and everything, which was a little disappointing because, I mean, Rorschach's a great character. I really would have liked if they would have explored him a little bit more, what his impact is on stuff. But they kind of dropped the ball there, I felt like. But I kind of get it because are you going to sell more stories if you name it, if the book's called Joe Schmo? Or are you going to sell more if the book's called Rorschach? It's like, ooh, Rorschach. I want to read about Rorschach. Give me that. No, you're not going to be like, oh, Joe Schmo, a detective story. Probably not. You're going to sell way more books if you throw Rorschach on it. It's connected to Watchmen, one of the best graphic novels of all time. Oh, absolutely. I want to read this now. So I understand, but it's a little misleading because there's not a whole lot of like connections to that in it. But anyway, guys, that does it for me. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you've read this, if you plan on reading it, what you think of it. Maybe you vastly disagree with me and you think that, it will perfectly fit into the world of Watchmen and everything. I'm not saying it doesn't fit into the world of Watchmen. Just the connections were very, very weak, and I would have liked to more explore some of this stuff. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much, and I will see you next time I log in for Modern Duty up here in the Watchtower.